It'll be interesting to see how many people we have joining us today with it being Good Friday.
I count four so far.
I see 35.
At least it's not what you
I
say.
was
I know what you're doing. Yeah,
so
thanks for everyone for joining us. We'll get started in just a minute or so here.
so I'm going to jump the gun here a little bit, Faith.
Yeah,
So obviously we'll be talking about the TMC event this week. Well, actually, it began kind of a week ago, but
yep,
the next one is a month before the National MBA conference in Denver.
correct. It's September 8th through 10th. And I haven't seen the dates for MBA. I haven't paid attention to the dates for MBA annual yet because I get my dates confused. So I don't move on from one to the other until one's over. But yeah,
Yeah, it's later. It's like a month and a half, well, a month and a week after that in
yeah,
also in Denver.
yep, that is true.
That's a nice central hub, apparently.
Easy plane access for everyone, which I think
Plane,
is a big focus. And, as all conferences kind of go a lot of the time, when you're planning your space, you're planning way far ahead of time. And then you're trying to find space where you can accommodate the size of group that you have, which for a while there was a lot of challenges with that related to the hotels because they were trying to kind of catch up from COVID happening. So many things had been delayed, and then all of a sudden they all got very, very booked. So I'm sure MBA is probably further out from us, though, further ahead of that schedule than we are as well, because they're dealing with a lot more people than what we
yeah.
are. So,
So if somebody wants to go or somebody wants to join,
yep,
they can shoot you an email.
yep.
What is your email address?
It is F Howard Mooney at mtgcoop.com. Yeah. So let's get
So
going
Erin, you
here.
had a fan pop up there.
Yeah, actually, Ken and I actually had a conversation about you today, Mr. Chrisman, and your rosy outlook on the rate future for the near future.
I just, what I tell people, if you like rates where they are, good, because I don't see them going up much or down much,
Oh no,
right?
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I told him I went to the Rob Chrisman School of Rate Forecasting.
Yeah. Anyway,
Right.
Oh, I got
Well,
a fan too. There we go.
there you go, man. Man, you guys got raving fans. Happy to have you on today. Well, let's get started. This is the rundown on Friday with, as always, Mr. Rob Chrisman. But we have two other guests with us today, Erin D., who is the COO of Loan People, and Amy Azorandia, who is the SVP of Mortgage Compliance Systems for First Trust Bank. Thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Oh,
Thank
We
you for having us.
decided we decided we were on this Good Friday, so happy Good Friday to those of you who do celebrate. We thought we would just do a little bit of a recap. We were this past week and maybe the end of last week, all of us were together in Louisville, Kentucky for TMC's conference. And so thought we would do a little bit of a recap. We've got an IMB and a bank on the phone with us today. And of course, Rob joined us for conference as well. And so thought we would get a little bit of the perspective on what happened at our conference, what some of the favorite things that you saw were. And so we will just get going that. Thank you, Danielle. You are sweet. Thanks for joining us today.
the best.
Missed you.
Yes, she is. Talk about the best. There it is right there. I would love to hear um, let's start with you, Erin. I'd love to hear from you. The thing that you learned at conference that you thought was going to be the most helpful takeaway for your business.
Yeah, so there was a lot. There was so many good things, but for me, and this may be not what you're expecting or how I would answer this, but really it came from the women's networking event where we really just spent some time talking about mentoring and sponsorship and the power of negotiations and you know, knowing your own value. And really what I loved about it is just like this constant reminder where even though every day in and day out, I'm busy with my full-time job and getting my tasks completed and all of that, but really just you know, there's so many amazing people in my life that help mentor me and have helped me get to where I am, that I need to be doing that as well within my organization, within the industry, and just how important it is and how much you can truly touch somebody's life by just being there to help them, give them advice, support them in whatever, you know, formal or informal way that looks.
It was a fantastic session.
It
I
was
think for
great.
those of
Tracy
us
did
in the room.
awesome.
Tracy
Tracy did a
King.
fantastic job.
Yeah, the
If anybody
speakers were
needs a
great.
moderator, she is a pro at it for sure. Amy, what about you?
Well, hold on that point. Erin, we learned that you were Tracy's champion.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had no idea. It was awesome to find out. Very humbling.
Yeah, that was great. For me, I think, let's see, we talked a lot about waterfalls, that our D1C and our AIM process. We talked a lot about Truve. I think that was like the vendor of choice. I actually said in one of my, in the roundtable wrap up, I don't want to hear about Truve anymore. And it wasn't because I don't love them. I do. I think that they're fantastic. It was that we've talked about them for 4 days straight. They were like the #1 talked about vendor, and they're a new member.
They
weren't
are
in-
a new member. Yep, they are relatively new
Mhm.
into the network as well.
Yeah, so we got to hear a lot of different tips and tricks from both Fannie and Freddie. We had 2 different roundtables, one with Fannie, lender only, and then we had another roundtable with Freddie talking about very similar processes, you know, for D1C and AIM and kind of some best practices. For me, it was all about the waterfall. Like, when's the best timing to enter to engage in that VOA report, and then how do you waterfall it down to your VOE VOI so you're saving and not paying the work number a gazillion dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. Rob, we were speaking about mentors. You've been a mentor to many. Erin mentioned it earlier on in the conversation that you taught her rates. She was following your rate philosophy. What is your, I mean, what was the thing that like maybe the most impactful thing that you saw or heard at conference?
I just enjoyed seeing everybody. I'm not a late night person. And in fact, I was back in my room pretty early all those nights. So I'm not out, schmoozing. But in the hallways and before the sessions began and after they ended or at the meals, I enjoy just talking to folks. And frankly, you know, over the years, or I should say for the last couple of years, you see uh you see people not there. It's like, oh, whatever happened to Frank and whatever happened to Joe, whatever happened to Sarah and so forth. And there is attrition in the industry.
Mhm,
And
for sure.
2024, not to be Debbie Downer here, but 2024 is going to could be equally as rough if you pay attention to some forecasts. And so rates could be here for a bit, and volumes are going to be here for a little bit, and margins are going to be here. So you have to wonder, what there's still overcapacity. And given that, like I said, I go to these conferences and I don't see people that I typically see. And so you kind of start to appreciate the people, even if it's just casual friendship, but you appreciate seeing familiar faces. I may not know their names, but they're familiar faces. And I think there's, it's a relatively kind of small conference industry. What I mean by that is you kind of see the same people at the conferences and you think, oh, in the last month I was at the TMBA in Houston, and then I was at another trade group who shall not be mentioned in Los Angeles. And then here's TMC. And, before that I was up in, Boise, Idaho, and I'm taking a little break now, but May things start back up for me in Alabama, and then there's the national secondary. And so, like I said, you see a lot of the same people, and companies are saying, we don't, we're going to cut back on travel and entertainment. So we're going to be much more selective about the conferences that we send people to. Certainly not, we're not going to send 10, we're going to send, 3 or 4 instead of 10. And so you appreciate the people who are at these events a little bit more. And I think TMC, it's kind of, a big family to some extent, more so than certainly the national MBA or the national secondary. So, it's nice to see the people. So that's what I got out of it, Faith. Just kind of seeing people again and, chatting briefly or chatting, whenever, rather than, like I said, rather than me going out late, but just being in the same space. I think it's important.
Yeah. I was so excited. One of the things I was really excited about at our conference this round was we had 41 people come to our conference, this conference, who had never been to one of our conferences before. And, not only is it great to see that and great to see our lender members bringing not only new lender members, but our current lender members bringing some people and seeing our conference as a way to help them understand the industry better and some of those things and bringing them to conference. There were some people there that had landed a new job and they happened to land a job that I had seen at conferences before and then hadn't seen for a while, happened to land a new job within the TMC family. So I thought that was awesome to be able to see that. And our current lender members are always so good about pulling them right in, sharing, what they enjoy. So I thought it was a good time. If you had a favorite, Amy, I think we probably maybe heard what your favorite sessions were, but if you had a very favorite session, what was it for you and why?
I've got 2. Erin, I'm going to put you on the spot. It was your session with Joe. I thought that was fantastic. It was operationalizing growth as the market rebounds, right? Yeah. So some highlights from that was just making sure that you really understand your KPIs, your metrics, that you're ready if the market shifts and changes, making sure your training tools and your training videos are up to date so that, when you're bringing on new folks, you're not spending the time, not saying not spending the time training, but you have the tools in place to help onboard them quickly and efficiently and have those resources available. Hiring practices, just making sure that, we're cool right now, but if we heat up, do you have those folks in the wings that you definitely want to bring in? I thought that was pretty cool. That's something that we talk about internally a lot. So I definitely wrote that down. Like, we're sometimes going to the TMC event is a little bit of a sanity check. You talk about these things internal and you start to hear other people talk about the exact same issues and you're like, yeah, all right, we're on the right track, right? So that was definitely one of them. And then my other one was the redlining session. That was leveraging data to avoid unintended redlining. Laird Nasuli pulled together a great team of excellent practitioners in the LMI CRA space. And my biggest takeaway in that was just that, CRA, LMI lending, I'm a bank. It's everybody's job. It's not one person's job. If that one person leaves, you're kind of, up creek without a paddle. It's everybody's job. And we need to make sure that, the loan officers understand that. And so that was my big takeaway for that session.
Yeah. How about you, Erin?
I mean, I feel like I should say it was probably the one where I was able to be on stage with Rob because that was awesome. I I do agree. I thought the ops roundtable was absolutely fantastic. And I think when you get people like Amy, Femi, Mike Metz, Sarah Gonzalez, when you get those people in a room and they just start talking about their KPIs and this is how we're dialing things in and this is how we do things. I mean, you just realize the brain power and you just even every little takeaway is great. I also really enjoyed, and I can't believe I'm about to say I enjoyed a session led by an attorney, but I did enjoy the cyber security, the cyber threat session. And I think that that's a really good topic for us to continue to hone in on because it's such a big deal for us. And so making sure that as lenders, we're not, IT is not just a side thought, that we're really owning it and understanding it. as leaders within the organization and what we need to do to keep our people sane, keep their, their cyber hygiene clean, right? And really understanding, do I need to have an insurance policy? Should I not? When do I need to deploy help? At one point, do I need to notify my partners? Things like that. So that session I just thought was excellent as well.
Rob, any session that you were in that you thought was impactful or that you heard from the lender members that they thought was impactful while you were there?
No, no, I'm just kidding. I liked, Erin mentioned it, the session where she and I were able to interview Mark McCardle, and poor Mark McCardle, he gets thrown everywhere. He's, just a constant feature on the talk shows,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call them. But he, I thought that we had some good questions for him, especially the fact that, the CFPB does not oversee NAR commissions and stop asking me about it, kind of thing. And so he's a good sport about answering the questions. Some I'm sure he's heard a dozen times, and others were relatively new. But that was, I thought, very informative, and he's entertaining. And the second one I liked was with Keith and Stan about leadership, and
Yeah.
some of the points that were made about how, as an industry, as a nation, we have gone through, year and a half of unbelievably low rates and huge volumes and huge margins. And how do you manage that? And then flipping to contraction and declining volumes. And we've had, seven quarters of on average losing money. And so to be able to be an effective manager through that kind of roller coaster ride is very, very difficult. And so some of the conversation that went around the room, I think was very enlightening. That was Tuesday morning. By then, people had started to peter out a little bit, I think, and some people, I think, even headed for the doors. But I thought that session was very good and very well presented.
Yeah, I was not in that session, but I heard a number of people say that that was one of their favorite sessions that they attended.
I
Um,
liked how Erin D tried to bribe Mark McCardle with toys to get LO Comp over the fence.
I am above nothing.
Um, yeah, going back to Keith, I mean, it was just he reminded everybody, and I need to keep reminding people. It was 2 years ago. I'm sorry, 4 years ago. Well, time's flying. 4 years ago, when we were sending everybody home.
yeah,
Everybody was being sent home. Go work from home. We'll figure it out. And to be able to adapt the systems and the closing process and dealing with borrowers and managing people in a remote workforce I mean, so suddenly, it's reminded me of what what a testament it is to this industry that we were able to do that and continue to refinance or finance millions of borrowers around the nation, almost with, I won't say without a hiccup, but because there were some, I'm sure, but for the
very
most part,
few.
we were heroes of the financial services sector.
Yeah. I think one of the things at a conference to me seemed like a really, really positive environment given what has gone on this year. But the resiliency of the people in the mortgage industry is just always amazing to me that people can remain hopeful and see the good positive side of things that they can capture. I think that always is inspiring to me to be able to see that. Not surprising out of our lender members because obviously I think they're the best, but it's always good to be in that environment. And even though it's hard, have it remain positive, I think.
Somebody mentioned in the $100,000 power hour, where we talk about efficiencies and cost savings, the people in our room, we've we've done the things to save money. Next is making money, like next
Yeah.
conference we need to talk about revenue.
Yep, I was going to say I already put a note out on a board that we have that said the $100,000 revenue gains for Denver. So I think we will switch that one up
Love that.
and talk more about, how do we earn more and where do we earn more? Because I feel like everybody has trimmed. I mean, we're down to human capital at this point in most organizations if you have to trim further. So yeah. Someone that you met, did you meet somebody at conference that you think you'll never lose contact with? I'm always all about the people part of things. So I always just love to hear who everybody met at conference.
For the first time?
Well, not necessarily, or maybe reconnected with that you hadn't seen for a while.
Femi
So
really
I had the
wants us to talk about it.
I actually ran into somebody who was on my winning future leaders team in 2015 who just joined a new company who's a part of the collaborative. So it was just super cool. I haven't had a chance to really see him in a long time. So John, if you're listening, hey, it was really, really great to just kind of connect and get caught up and hopefully get to see him again in future ones. Oh, there he is. Hey.
I know I was excited that he was back in our network as well. So you were greatly missed, John.
Well, and I think too, like, and I'm sure Amy can attest, I don't want to speak for her, but I feel like that every time one of these happens, you just go deeper with people. And so it's not even like it's great in meeting and reconnecting, but then it's like the people that you're friends with, you just go deeper with. I had to go get a new phone because something happened to my other phone and had the opportunity to spend the afternoon with Paul Campbell, which was just absolutely amazing. And, just everybody you get a chance to at these events to just spend some time with, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was able to have dinner with Rob Henger, and we've been in Collab Lab before, but just being able to spend some one-on-one time beforehand and really understand, where he's coming from. He's a wealth of knowledge, just an excellent career. And you can talk about any part of mortgage banking with him, and he truly understands all aspects. So I thought that was pretty good. And then I met somebody that literally lives in my backyard, and I've never met him before, that everybody that lives near me knows, Brian Simon, and I had never met until the conference.
Yeah.
I assume you meant figuratively, not literally in your backyard.
Well, yes, he does not live in a tent.
Brian, come on, it's dinner time.
I had a question for you, Rob. We talk about Myrtle, or we see you talk about Myrtle a lot. Does Myrtle mind that you travel so much?
Myrtle is, there's a lot of cat people, a lot of dog people, a lot of animal people out there, and a lot of people who don't like dogs or don't like cats, probably more that don't like cats. But my mom, usually I would have a cat growing up, and my mom would always say, well, they show affection how they can. That was her, because cats can be pretty disinterested and disdainful. But I will say, to Myrtle's credit, that when I come back after being gone, a day or two or three, she's very affectionate in terms of, she may sit in my lap from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. while I'm dealing with getting the commentary out. I mean, she may sit in my lap, which is kind of unusual for a cat. So Myrtle, she's okay when I'm away, but when I come back, she's very happy to, have me back. Thanks for asking.
Myrtle misses you.
I feel like what you just said about like she shows affection the way or they show affection the way they can. I think that's how my ex-boyfriend used to describe me.
Well, I wasn't going to go there, Erin, but since you brought it up, no.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, oh Lord is right. Well, we have 6 minutes left on the show.
Agencies. We had Sandra Thompson there with us. We had Mark McCardle there, who I have to say he is always delightful because I love it that he will try to literally answer anything. at all. And of course, we had Commissioner Gordon there with us as well. Anything that you heard from them that you thought was, I guess, new that they were doing that is something that could be impactful to the industry?
Want me to take that first?
Sure.
I heard
Well,
doom
so
and gloom.
I guess I would have two things. One, I actually did appreciate Mark, his commentary about the lack of competition in the CRA space in terms of credit reporting costs. And I think that's been a frustration for all of us. Increase our fees by 400% and then also turn around and sell our leads as trigger leads. I think we've all expressed frustration. And so that the CFPB is kind of recognizing the lack of competition in that space and looking at that, I was happy about that. And then, Commissioner Gordon, when we talked to her about removing at some point or having expiration, no longer having life of loan MIP on FHA loans, which is something, a lot of people have asked for, but she did a really good job, I felt, of framing why that's probably not going to happen and really just likening it more to their G fee. And that's their G fee versus being a PMI that should drop at a certain point. And I thought that was at least a really good explanation from a regulator as to, why they're not going to remove a fee.
Yeah, I did not know that, but I've been out of mortgage for, traditional mortgage process for a while now. So that was something that I learned at conference. Ira did put in the chat. Ira, this was one of the things that I noticed too, is obviously LO comp has been talked about a ton by everybody. But Mark, there was a mention there of possible changes. You don't think so?
So the previous administration had gotten close to getting the bond loans over the fence, and then at the last minute tore it back, didn't do it. This administration is anti-LO comp, and the only piece of advice that we got is write more letters.
Yeah, write more letters, a different change of approach on that one, I think a little bit. He didn't say it was a short-term thing. He did not say
maybe
something that was going to happen right away.
Tackle it. But
yeah.
this administration knows exactly what we want. They understand and can articulate what we want, but they're not touching it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
I agree with that. I mean, I'm gonna put my Eeyore hat on here a little bit, Eeyore mask. Sandra Thompson, I email with Sandra Thompson. I've seen her speak. She knows who I am. I mean, we go back and forth, but I didn't hear much out of Sandra Thompson in terms of anything really new. And in fact, when she talked about removing the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac from conservatorship, it was almost, she brought up all these questions like, what about the existing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans, and what about this, and what about this, and what about that? It wasn't like, here's what we need to address. She kept asking question after question after question, and then she said something like, I'm not the person to answer those, or something. And I thought, not to be harsh on her because I like her as a person, but who is going to spearhead this, Sandra, if you're not? And so that was a little bit worrisome. And yeah, Mark, shed a little bit of light on LO comp, but yeah, to Amy's point, yeah, I don't know if much will get done there. Frankly, so I have yet to hear why companies and LOs do bond loans. I mean, I kind of know why they do them, but they sit on the warehouse line for a long time. They are sometimes a pain in the neck to do. Whenever bond loans come up as a topic, everyone kind of snorts and rolls their eyes. You have LO comp issues. I just, I realize their function in housing finance, but gosh, so many issues that could be better for lenders and originators. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah.
Good karma. Thank you, Linda. good karma points.
Good one, Linda.
Yeah.
I love that answer. Yeah, I think that bond loans are always a challenge because I won't say they mess up your process, but it's a different thing that you're dealing with there, and ultimately cost a lot of lenders money in the long run. But I feel like people do it for the people. I mean, the people that they want to serve and the people that are important to get into houses. And all of those good things. They're doing it for that, but not gaining a reward from it.
Faith,
Others,
do you do when you're not doing this TMC gig, are you like volunteering on the suicide hotline number? Or are you a nurse, like a traveling nurse or something? Or do you deliver cookies to
some of those
bed
things.
bound? I mean, you're just so sweet. I look at it and think, I mean, if I'm losing money, I mean, it's almost, the NBA announces these profit and loss figures, and gee, it's not, if you're losing an average of $2,000 alone, how long do I have to do that before I say, you know what, I'm running out of money here. I want to save some for my college education, the college education of my kids. Anyway, I need a drink. That's what I need. I need to settle.
My liver is broken.
Simmer down now, Rob, simmer down.
We forgot to mention that we kicked off the conference with a bourbon tour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we did. Which that was kind of the last thing that I was going to ask you before we, leave on, Good Friday is what was your favorite, the fun thing that you did while you were there in Louisville? I mean,
Watching Femi sing after the bourbon tour on the bus ride home.
I have video.
Yeah, Femi's
Sorry,
a good
Femi,
singer.
I have
That's all I
video,
gotta say.
and I love it.
He belted out. He is excellent. Yeah, no, the bourbon tour was amazing. It was such a good time. Thanks to David Kittle. I know you guys, awesome. You guys did an awesome job in general, but putting that together for us was really great.
Yeah. And we did have, we had a brand new partner that joined us for that, Cornerstone, who sponsored that event for us, which they fit right in with everybody on the bus. So that was very, very nice to see. I'm sure that they enjoyed themselves too.
Were we rowdy on the bus?
I would pay to not hear Femi sing. He's a nice guy and all, but his voice probably is right up there with mine in terms
I'll send
of,
you the video.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll
Max also has some special talents in the singing space.
Yeah.
Oh yes, Max is
Who?
quite the rapper. Maybe when he's on next week, you can have him rap something for you.
who was that?
Yeah. Max Lehman and KP
Oh,
both
yeah,
showed
Max
their rap skills while on the bus as well. Yeah, quite fun. It was a fun event. For me, I always say it's all about the people. It's always about the people. That is definitely what re-energizes me and maybe makes me a little sweeter than normal, because you all know that I'm not always sweet, but I loved seeing everyone.
We've never seen that.
Ask my team.
Well, you and your team did an amazing job. So just I
They
don't want to
did.
sign off without saying thank you.
Yeah, they did. Our whole entire team. We had a couple new teammates there with us this time, and they just acclimated in the team so seamlessly. It seemed like they had been there forever. So shout out to Andrew and Ashlyn for their first conference and how well things went.
Ashlyn taught me something new.
She did. What'd she teach you?
Old dog, new tricks. Ashlyn, I was talking to her at game night, family night, whatever it was called, and she was explaining she was married, a couple kids, and her husband was in the armored division out at Fort whatever. And I said, "Oh wow, Fort whatever it was." I said, "Where's that?" I think she said, "Well, I don't know if she mentioned this specific fort, but she said, Fort Benning, all these forts that kind of names that I kind of grew up with, they're changing all those names." And so she had flown in, her and her family was stationed out at Fort whatever. But she said they're changing all the fort names. I didn't know that. I don't follow that kind of stuff, but I guess
did
it's
not know that either. But yeah, her husband is active military.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she was probably glad to get away from that and her kids to the calm conference environment.
As she managed our entire reg desk all by herself the first conference.
More kids, Rob. She had way more kids to take care of.
Good comparison. Good comparison sometimes. Well, thank you all for joining us, not only today, but always. You're obviously great people within our network, all three of you that we rely on very much. We hope that you will come back and join us. We're in Denver, September 8th through 10th for our Denver conference. Registration is already open for the lender members and partners that are on here. This is the least expensive you are ever going to see registration until April 15th. So please take advantage of that. It will be good for your budget this year if you do so. So everyone, thanks for joining us today on this Good Friday. Rob, as always, we appreciate you. You always have good insight and fun insight at the same time, which I think we all love on a Friday afternoon. Erin and Amy, love you
Thank
both. You do so much within our TMC family that we're very grateful for you.
And good luck with the
Awesome.
volunteer work this weekend, Faith, Suicide Hotline.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.